Hey, best friends of mine, Ash here. Welcome back to Gents. Hope that you're doing well. Hawas, what does it mean? Desire, lust, ambition. At least according to the Google search I did. More specifically though, it is the desire to release as many freaking flankers as possible. That's right, baby. Rasasi is going for the record most flankers in a single year, and I have the newest one that is helping them along to meet that goal. Verde. This one right here I bought from the Oud store and it cost me $70. You might say, I overpaid. Apparently you can find it on places though, such as TikTok for a little bit less. By the way, if you are on that app for some reason, throw me a follow at Gents. But yeah, I got the new Verde, paid 70 bones for it, and the question remains. Any good? Let's try to answer that. I'll have this one linked in the description below if you want to check it out. Let's go ahead and take a look at this presentation so we can break down what this new Hawas is. First, le box. Has a nice design to it. It has this green kind of gradient, a little bit more yellow up toward the top, deeper green toward the bottom. You have the name of the fragrance on the front there, as well as the size and concentration, 100 ml eau de parfum. Little logo up top, nothing on the sides. On the back, small amount of information, and on the bottom, your ingredients and your batch code. My bottle was manufactured October 2025. And considering that I got this in October 2025, that means this is just a baby. This fragrance has had no time to mature. Let's take a look at the bottle. That gradient again is reflected here in the bottle, a little bit more yellow toward the top, nice green coloration toward the bottom. You got the name of the fragrance on the front there. Nothing on top of the cap, which is kind of strange. Sometimes they go ahead and throw their logo on top, sometimes they don't. I'm not sure exactly why that is. Doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason. It's just sometimes they're like, yeah, throw Rasasi on top. And other times they're like, I'd save a few bucks and not do that. On the bottom of the bottle, you have a sticker, and the cap does, of course, click into place. Let's go ahead and do a couple sprays. Here we go. Pretty good. Now this one's kind of interesting in the sense that they basically announced it and then it was released at pretty much the exact same time, which a lot of different clone brands are starting to do that, where they keep their cards close to their vest. They don't tell you anything's coming out. And then they're just like, oh, by the way, here it is. Or they'll go ahead and release it for pre-order where you can pick it up for, 20, 30 bucks more than it's going to be a month later. But that's something completely different. Note breakdown wise, this one is really simple, at least as of now. It would not surprise me at all if in the near future they go ahead and give us a more expanded upon note breakdown. That's also become a little bit more common here lately. But as far as those notes go, not a whole heck of a lot going on. Mainly green notes, which you would expect from the name and the presentation. So stuff like rosemary, green apple, and lime, along with a little bit of patchouli and amber. Again, not a whole heck of a lot to derive from that note breakdown. And when this one was first announced, everybody was like, oh, it's Pacific Chill. 100%, it's gotta be Pacific Chill. I did a This Week in Fragrance on this. I also did a video on TikTok talking about this one before it officially came out, like a day before it came out, essentially. And there were a lot of comments from people going, hey, this is Pacific Chill, it's already confirmed. I think because somebody had gotten their hands on the bottle ahead of time and they were like, to me, it's Pacific Chill. And so everybody was like, oh, that's what it is. And that makes some sense because of the coloration and everything, and also Pacific Chill is very popular and a whole lot of different clone companies have cloned that fragrance. So it was like, oh, Rasasi's just doing their version of that. Also, some people thought Greenly from Parfums de Marly, mainly because again, the green coloration and also the apple that is in the fragrance note breakdown. It's one of the things that happens when you don't have a very big note breakdown, but it's obviously a clone fragrance. Everybody is like, well, what is it cloning, There's only a few notes to go off of and apple jumps out, and then you start thinking, well, what is a green fragrance that has apple that's niche? Greenly. And then it makes sense. French Avenue, has ether extrait, and then Lattafa just came out with their version. So yeah, that makes sense too. But to me, guys, this is not Pacific Chill and it's not Greenly. In fact, it is Torino 21. Yeah, Xerjov's Torino 21 is what this reminds me the most of. Now, a little surprise there because Torino 21 has mint as one of the main notes in the fragrance, and there's no mint in the note breakdown here, but let me tell you how it comes across. Again, at least to me. Roll up my sleeves a little bit there. Trying to look very professional. I'm gonna get different color of these jackets and just throw them on my t-shirts. That is the dressiest that I'm gonna get. Anyway, let's go ahead and do a couple sprays. So this one opens up ultra brisk, super fresh, very bright, zingy, zesty, attention grabbing. It has to me a nice sweet mint that combines together with the citrus there right off the top. Again, not an official note, but when you spray this on, it's gonna remind you of that Torino 21 opening. And even though it's extremely bright and attention grabbing and, like I said, zingy, it also has that touch of class to it, just like the Xerjoff does. Now we are heading like straight into winter, like getting pretty close. So not exactly the type of fragrance that you would expect to come out this time of year, at least for the Northern Hemisphere, but yeah, we'll look past that, I guess. Now in that initial opening, you're also gonna get a touch of that apple. And so for some people that could remind them just a little tiny bit, not a huge amount, but a little bit of greenleaf, the way that that apple comes across in that fragrance. So it's almost like you took majority Torino 21, and then you just sprinkled in a little dusting maybe of that greenleaf vibe, kind of underneath, not really over top. And you might go, well, what do you even mean over top, underneath, all this crap? Well, what I mean is that mint, that citrus, that's really kind of at the forefront. That's what's gonna hit you first, right? So then after that kind of settles a little to your nose, that underneath part, that little bit of apple that comes out there, that's the part that I'm talking about. There's also this kind of light soapiness in the opening too, not really heavy, and not as soon as you spray it on. This is more, 3, 4, 5 minutes in, after that initial big zingy blast starts to settle a little bit, you get this slight touch of soap that comes out. And that aspect is somewhat similar to some of the Imagination clones out there, that they have that little bit of soapiness to them. Obviously this doesn't smell like Imagination, that's not what I'm saying, but you guys know what I'm talking about, probably Marwa, stuff like that, massage infused. Some of those fragrances have this like faint soapy aspect to them. This has something like that going on, only obviously instead of Imagination being the backbone, it is Torino 21. Really, really well balanced in terms of freshness with a touch of sweetness from the opening into the mid. Extremely appealing, super easy to wear. All this being said, I'm a big fan of Torino 21. That is one of my favorite Xerjoffs ever. I think spring and summer, that stuff is absolutely killer. So be aware of that. Obviously, I like the fragrance that it is duping. So if you like that one, you'll probably love this one, but vice versa, if you hate that one, you probably won't like this one a whole lot. Now, as you head into the mid, that mintiness, that zinginess, that's going to fade away. That's gonna step to the background. That's not like right there the entire time that the fragrance is on your skin. Now, it lasts a pretty good amount of time for that style, that minty kind of vibe, because mint typically in fragrances, especially with citrus, doesn't linger that long usually. You get really good longevity of that part of the fragrance here. It's just once you head to the mid, it has stepped into the background. As it heads through the mid, heading in toward the dry down, you're gonna get that rosemary coming out, little herbal touch to it, but it doesn't lean into like an herb garden or anything like that. It's not heavily leafy green or anything like that. That soapy aspect is gonna carry over as well into the mid, into the dry down, always kind of hanging out in the background, just kind of lending this clean aspect to the scent. The patchouli here is woodsy, not really earthy, so you're not gonna get a whole heck of a lot of that aspect of the patchouli coming through. And you get a faint warmth from the amber that comes through in the dry down as well. Also has kind of a muskiness, which makes sense because that ties it in to Torino 21 as well. And that kind of also segs together with the soapy aspect as well. And so what you end up getting here with Hawas Verde is basically Torino 21 done by a really large clone house. There are some other Torino 21 alternatives out there, some better than others. This one though is going along that path with a slight twist to it. Like I said, that little bit of greenleaf that's in there, that slight soapiness that it has. And of course, it could remind some people of bits and pieces of Pacific Chill as well, just in the sense of the opening of Pacific Chill having that big blast of fruit in there. And of course, the mint as well. So, I mean, you do have some overlap a little bit between Pacific Chill and Torino 21, but I think that if you side by side, that it is closer to the Xerjoff than it is the Louis Vuitton. Now, in terms of performance, Rasasi Hawas fragrances are always known, or expected to have, I should say, very, very good performance. They're expected to have great projection, great longevity. As I pointed out, my bottle was made in October. I got this one in in October. And so it has not been able to sit and mature. To a lot of you out there, that doesn't matter a bit. To a lot of you out there, that does matter. In case you don't know what I'm talking about, a lot of people will swear that when it comes to clone fragrances, when you get them in, you spray them on, if you let them sit for a little while, a couple weeks, some people will even say a couple months, that the fragrance will get better. It will open up more, it will smell higher quality, it will perform better, last longer, all that stuff. And this one has had absolutely no chance to do that whatsoever, but I'll tell you, it packs a punch. For a fresher type of fragrance, spring, summertime type of scent, daytime fragrance with a good amount of citrus in there, with a little apple, a nice mintiness, all of that going on, it lasts. It lasts a long time. You can easily pick this stuff up off of skin as you move around. For a summertime fragrance, this stuff packs a wallop. So you don't have to worry about it just fading in 20 minutes, 30 minutes. I got this in one day after I got in Assad Elixir, and the same day that I got in Club de Nuit Bling. I ordered them all at the exact same time, but what I'm saying here is I've been wearing those 3 fragrances, sometimes at the same time on different hands, arms, whatever. Sometimes one day, one the next day. This stuff is strong. It was not overshadowed by either of the other 2 that I got in that I've been wearing. Even though those 2 are more like fall, winter, or maybe early spring type fragrances, even though this one is spring, summer, it's right there with them easy. And obviously, as I just said, this is more spring, summer, daytime, that type of fragrance, that type of scent profile. Easy compliment puller. Just like Torino 21, just like Greenlee, just like Pacific Chill, just like anything that you could, use this to compete alongside, just as good. At $70, which is what I paid, technically $69.99. Obviously, that's too much because that is priced high because they were the first ones to get it in. They were the first ones to get it in. They were the first ones to get the fragrance in stock, and they were taking advantage of that by making it more expensive. So here before too long, the price is obviously gonna drop. It's probably going to settle initially around, what, 50, 55 most likely, and then eventually settle down to like 40, 45, kind of where Hawas Tropical is at right now. At that price point, sick, amazing deal, fantastic. At 70, I mean, if you really love Hawas, if you really, really want it now, then you can scoop it up at that price point, and it absolutely crushes. It's just, you have to come to acceptance that in the near future, you're gonna be able to find it for 20, 25 less than that. Now, I know when it comes to Rasasi, when it comes to Hawas at this point, a lot of people are just like viewing this as a meme because they just keep announcing them. And it's crazy because they've announced stuff like months ago that they haven't even come out with. Like, they had some influencers check them out where they were like, here, do a video and, hype this up where it's coming out soon. And then here's like 2 months later, going on 3 months later, and it's still not out, which is kind of questionable. Hawas Atlantis, that's one of the ones I'm talking about. That one was announced quite a while back, still not really available. Hawas Viper, same thing. So it does seem that Rasasi is a little bit all over the place where they're just like hammering the Hawas. They keep announcing them and then not releasing them, but releasing some of the ones they announced, and then they announce new ones that they released before the ones that they announced months ago. Yeah, it's the whole thing. So I know it's kind of meme worthy to an extent, but this stuff right here, this is really, really, really good. I'm wearing it today, like obviously, but I'm wearing this today, and this stuff is fantastic. This is one of the best Hawas fragrances for me, and that is absolutely down to what it smells similar to. So there we go, Hawas Verde. The performance is there, the quality is there, the price is not there yet, and to me, it is more Torino 21, not Pacific Chill. But like I said before, there is some overlap between those fragrances, so you could wear this kind of as a Pacific Chill alternative, kind of. It'd be like wearing Hasavat as an Aventus alternative, or a Hasavat style fragrance as an Aventus alternative. It technically works. So that is the new Hawas. If you have been interested in how that smells, that is how it comes across to me. I wanna thank you guys for hanging with me here today. Stay safe out there, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys.